We begin by the Mishnah on Daf Chavdaled Amud Beis. Zok the Mishnah, have it? Ein kairin. So you don't do kriya, v'lo chayltzin, and also chayltzin we learned before is when the kriya is done that you uncover the shoulder. Ve'ein mavrin, which refers to the first meal that the Avelim have. Ela kroiv shel meis. This is only for the ones that are the relatives of the meis. Ve'ein mavrin ela al mitas kufa, and those that come to be there by this first meal for the Avelim, so even the ones that are coming to be menachem, to console them, only sit on this bed that's upright. The Gemara will talk about this. So according to some Mefarshim, this Mishnah is talking about Avelim B'chlal, but according to others, this Mishnah is connected to a Mishnah that comes later on Daf Chav Zayin, and it's referring to Chalamayid. It's saying, these halachas are regarding Chalamayid, that you don't do Kriya and so on Chalamayid unless you're a relative of the mace. So it's said over here that only the relatives of the mace follow these halachas of Kriya and so on. Is that true even if the one that passed away is a Chacham that taught people Torah? But Vatanya, we learned in Abraisa, Chacham Shemeis, a Chacham that passes away, Hakel Kroivov. Everybody is his relatives. So the Gemara asks, what does this mean? Hakel Kroivov Solkataitach. Does it literally mean that everybody is his relatives? Ella, rather, what does it mean? Hakel Kikroivov. That everybody is like his relatives. Because Chacham passes away, everybody has to behave like his relatives. And therefore, Hakel Kairan Olav, everyone has to do Kriya, Vakel Choltzen Olav, they have to also Choltzen, uncover the shoulder, Vakel Mavrin Olav Berachba, they eat this meal out in the street. So we see that it's not only the relatives. Why did our Mishnah say that only the relatives? And for the Gemara, in our Mishnah, the case is that the person that passed away is not a Chacham. So therefore, it's only for the relatives. The Gemara, Adam Kosher, and if he's an Adam Kosher, a fine, good person, so chiyuvim mechayev lemikra. You also chayev to do kriya for him. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa, mipnei ma banav ubnoisav shel adam meisim. Why would a person's children pass away? Kishem ktanim, when they're young. Kedei sheyivke v'yisabel al adam kosher. In order that he should cry and mourn for an adam kosher that passes away. So first the Gemara clarifies pshat in this Braisa. Yivke v'yisabel. His young children would pass away in order that in the future he should learn to cry and mourn for them. Arvaina kashakol minei. The Eibush is taking some collateral from this person. In other words, we're punishing this person even before the fact in order that he should remember to cry for a person that passed away. That can't be. Ella, so the Gemara says, the way to read this is, mipnei shaloi bacha v'his abul al adam kosher. Because in the past he didn't cry or mourn for an adam kosher that passed away. If you cry and you mourn for Adam Kosher that passes away, Deibusha forgives all your sins for the honor that you gave for this person. So if so, in our Mishnah as well, it said in our Mishnah that the halachas of Kriya and so on is only for the relatives of the mace. But here we see that it's even for any Adam Kosher, not a relative. So the Gemara answers, the lav Adam Kosher. Our Mishnah is not speaking about an Adam Kosher. Another question, if one is present, when the person passes away, you still should be obligated to take Kriya. Tanya, because Nabraisa, Shimon ben Elazar says, if one is standing there when someone passes away, you're obligated to do Kriya. When a neshama leaves this world, what is it compared to? The Sefer Torah shenisraf, to a Sefer Torah that gets burnt, shechayev l'kraya, that one is obligated to do kriya. Rashi here says, because it says ner Hashem mitzvah, ner mitzvah v'Torah regarding the Torah, and on a person it says ner Hashem nishmas adam, so therefore both they're compared to each other. So the Gemara says in our Mishnah that it says that only the relatives are the ones that have to do the halachas of kriya and so on. The loikay yasam b'shas yitzias neshama. Our Mishnah was talking about when the person was not there, when the neshama left, when the person passed away. So the Gemara now brings the story, Kinoch nafshe Rav Safra, when Rav Safra passed away, like Karu Rabbanon alei, the Rabbanon did not take kriya for this. Amri, they said, Loi gavnina mine, we didn't learn Torah from him. So Amalu Abaye said to them, Mi Tanya, did we learn in the Braise that was quoted before, Harav Shemeis, that only the teacher, one's teacher that passes away, Chacham Shemeis. We learned a Chacham that passes away, everyone has to take Kriya for him. So even if you didn't learn for him, Tanya, that's what we learned. And Va'oid, another point he told them, Kol Yoima, every single day, Shmaite say, Bepumin, Bebei Medrasha. His sugyas, his halachis is in our mouth in the Beis Medrash. Not Sover, so these Talmidei Chachamim that didn't take Kriya for him, so now they thought, Madahava have it. So it's in the past, and so it's too late. Amalo Abaye, so Abaye said to them, Tanina, we learned, Chacham, Kozman Sha'iskim Behesped. Chacham that passes away, as long as people are still eulogizing him, Chayav and L'Kraya. So it's still early enough, you're still obligated to do Kriya. So now Sover L'Mikra La'alter. They wanted to go ahead and do Kriya right away, then and there. Amula Abaye, so again Abaye told them, Tanya, we learned in the Braise, Chacham kvoidoi bespedoi. Chacham that passes away, so for his honor, one tears Kriya at the time when they're eulogizing him, not Stam, but it has to be together with a hesped. So the Gemara, Kinach Nafshid Rav Huna, when Rav Huna passed away, Savor loisuvi sefer Torah porya. They wanted to place a sefer Torah on his bed. What was the point of putting a sefer Torah on his bed? So Rashi says to show people that he fulfilled what the sefer Torah says. Amalu Rav Chiste, so Rav Chiste, his student, told them milse something the bechaye leisvirele, that in his lifetime he didn't hold of doing this. Hashtem leikim levedle. Now you're going to do it for him. Damar Rav Tachlife. Rav Tachlife said, Anoch Hazise le Rav Huna, I saw Rav Huna, the boy le meisav apurya. He wanted to sit down on a bed. V'havemonach sefer Torah, and there was a sefer Torah on the bed. So what did he do? V'chav kada ha'ara. So he turned over a jug on the ground, and v'oisav sefer Torah lavei. He placed the sefer Torah on this jug, and then he sat down on the bed. So Alma Kasava, we see that Rav Huna holds Aser leishev al gabi mitesh sefer Torah munachala. You're not allowed to sit on a bed which a sefer Torah is on it. So therefore, don't put the sefer Torah now on his bed. Now what happened? Lo yavanofik puriyim ibava. His bed they weren't able to carry him out on his bed out of the doorway. It was too narrow. So they were thinking, what are they going to do? Saver l'shulshuli derech gagan. They thought that they would bring him out through the roof and they would lower him down from there. Rav Chiste again said, Hagamirna mine, but I learned from him, Chacham kvoidoi derech Pesach. The honor of a Chacham is that you bring him out through the doorway. So they were thinking what to do. So they said, Saver la shnuye mipurya lepurya. So we'll change him over. We'll put him on another bed that's narrower to be able to carry him out. Rav Chiste said, Hachi gamirna mine, but this is what I learned from Rav Huna himself. Chacham kvoidoi b'mitter rishayna. For a Chacham, it's his honor to carry him out in the bed that he's in the first bed. Rav Yudah said in the name of Rav, from where do I see that it's the honor of the Chacham to leave him in the bed that he passed away? Shenema, the pasuk says, Vayarkivu es aroin ha'alekim al agola chadasha. They brought the Aron of the Eibishter on agola chadasha. So the agola chadasha is actually the same wagon that it was brought there. Rashi here brings that this is the agola that the Pelishtim sent back the Aron with, and this is the same Aron that David sent. So what did they do here? So Parus Bava, they broke open the doorway, Va'afkua, and they brought him out. Pasach alei Rababa began with a hesped, and he said as follows: Roy hoy Rabbeinu shetishra of Shechina. Our teacher was fitting that the Shechina should rest upon him, and he should be able to have Ruach HaKodesh and Nevu and so on. Ela shabavel garmalei. The fact that he's in Bavel and the Shechina does not dwell in Bavel, that's the reason why it didn't happen. Masav Rav Nachman bar Rav Chiste, so Rav Nachman, the son of Rav Chiste, asked him what he was saying. Others say it was Rav Chanan bar Rav Chiste that asked, but we find Nevuah even outside Eretz Yisrael. It says, Hoya dvar Hashem al Yecheskel ben Buzia Kayim be'Eretz Kastim. The Eibusher spoke to Yecheskel in Eretz Kastim. So that was his question. Tafach le avua besandle. So Rav Chiste banged him. So there's two pshatim in this. One pshat is he banged him on his shoes, like he sort of was hinting him in a quiet way, like, don't speak up here now, don't say this now. Or another pshat is that Rav Chiste took his own shoe and banged him with it. Amaleh, he told him, Lava minalach, did I not once tell you, le titrid alma, don't bother people with your questions. My hoya. So the question that you ask, that you see that it was nevuah for Yecheskel outside Eretz Yisrael, what does hoya mean? Shahoya kvar, because it was already. So Rashi says two pshatim in this. One pshat in this is that, it did happen that Nevuah was in Chutz La'aretz, but that was only in the times of Yecheskel ben Buzi. But now it doesn't happen anymore. Another pshat is because Yecheskel was in Eretz Yisrael, so the Nevuah was chal on him already in Eretz Yisrael. And once it took effect in Eretz Yisrael, so then even in Chutz La'aretz, the Eibusha spoke to him. Okay, so therefore, what Rab Abba said in the Hesped was true. So the Gemara then Kiyasku lahasa. They brought Rav Huna, they carried him to Eretz Yisrael. Rashi says that there's an Indian to be buried dafka in Eretz Yisrael. He brings from the Gemara in Ksubis that a person that's buried in Eretz Yisrael, he's buried without any Averis. Omrulei Rav Ami Rabasi. So they told Rav Ami and Rabasi, Rav Huna Asi. Rav Huna is coming. So they thought that they meant to say that Rav Huna is alive and Rav Huna is coming to Eretz Yisrael. So Amru, Rav Ami and Rabasi said about this, Ki Avina and Hassam, when we were there in Bavel, we couldn't lift up our head because of him. He was so chashiv that we couldn't open up our mouth, we couldn't speak in front of him. Hashta Sinan Hacha. Now we came here to Eretz Yisrael, Asra Basran, he's coming after us. So Amru Lahu, so they told Rav Ami and Ravasi, no, he's not coming alive. Araynoi, his coffin is coming. So Rav Ami and Ravasi nofak. Rav Ami and Ravasi went out for this levaya. Rab Ila and Rab Chanina loy nofak. Rab Ila and Rab Chanina did not go out. Ikkedamri, others say the story happened that Rab Ila nofak. Rab Ila went out. Rab Chanina loy nofak. Rab Chanina did not go out. My time, what's the reason? So the Gemara says, I skipped one word, sorry. The nofak, the one that did go out, my time, what's his reason that he did go out? The Tanya, because we learned in Abraisa, Oren ha'oivim mimakim l'makim, a coffin is coming from one place to another. So I'm the model of Beshura, all the people there where it arrives to should stand in the line from Nichem Avelim, Vayim mal of Birchas Avelim, V'tenchumi Avelim, they say the Bracha of Avelim, and they console the Avelim. So that's what it says in the Abraisa, that you're supposed to go out. The loinafak, my time, the one that did not go out, what is his reason? The Tanya, because in another brayse we learned, Aaron coming from place to place, you do not have to stand in a line, and there is no nichem avelim for an Aaron that's coming from one place to another. Okay, so the Gemara now explains this. Kashya nahadadi. These two brayses are contradicting each other. So the Gemara says, no, like kashya, it's not a question. Kan shashalde kayemes. If the Aron is coming with a person that the skeleton of the body is still intact, so then you have to go out and to greet the Aron and stand there and be menachem ovel. Kan b'she'ein shalde kayemes. And if the Aron that's coming is from someone that passed away a while ago and the body is not intact anymore, so then you don't have to go out. So Rav Huna shalde kayemes. Rav Huna, by the time he came to Eretz Yisrael, his body was still intact. So now we understand why the one that went out, because he's supposed to go out in such a case. So now the loy nafak, the one that did not go out, why did he not go out? Because loy saimua kaimei, they didn't tell him the whole story here. The person that did not go out was under the impression that Rav Huna had passed away a very long time ago, and therefore he's not obligated to go out. So the Gemara, now what happened? Omri, they said in Eretz Yisrael, heiche ninche, where should we place him? Where should we bury him? So they said as follows: Rav Huna ribitz Torah b'Yisrael. Rav Huna spread Torah amongst Yidden. V'Rab Chia ribitz Torah b'Yisrael, and Rab Chia also spread Torah amongst Yidden. Hava was a person that spread Torah. So man ma'ayale. So the question is, who is going to bring him into that place, into a cave where Rab Chia was buried? Amalu Rav Chage. Rav Chage came and said, "Ano ma'aylonale, I will bring him in." Daikimte l'talmudoi, because I already knew the entire Talmud. I learned all the halachas ki havina bar tamni sarishnin when I was 18 years old. So you notice he was saying that I'm fitting to do this. And also v'lechazili keri, and I never saw a keri, a tumah of keri. And also omashmele kamei, and I served him also v'yadei ba'uvdei, and I know his behavior. I served him and I know his behavior, which is the Yom Echad. I saw, I believe it refers to Rav Huna, but I'm not 100% sure. So he says, I know his behavior, and what did he see? That Yom Echad is hapchele ritzua the tefillin. One day the ritzua of the tefillin, the strap of the tefillin, turned over, and v'yasav Allah arba'an tanesa. And because of this, he sat and fasted 40 days. So what happened? So Rav Chage actually brought in the coffin of Rav Huna into this cave. Eile, he brought him in, and he saw Havagoni Yehuda miyamine davua. He saw Rav Chizkiah is lying there buried, and he saw that Yehuda is lying on his right side, and the right from Rav Chia, yeah, and Chizkiah mismale, and Chizkiah is on the right side of his father, which is Rav Chia. Amalei Yehuda leChizkiah. So when he brought in Rav Huna, so Yehuda is speaking to Chizkiah, and Yehuda told Chizkiah, "Kol miduchtech, get up from your place. The lav urach are. It's not customary to koim Rav Huna that Rav Huna is standing here. Bahadi, the koim Rav Huna that Rav Huna should be standing here, and we're lying over here." Okay, so what happened? Bahadi the koim, when he got up, kom bahadei amuda denura, a big pillar of fire got up with him, came down with him. Chazer Rav Chage. Rav Chage saw this pillar of fire. Ivis, he got very afraid. Zakfela Arayna, he picked up the aron of Rav Huna to block the fire from him. And the Nofak also, and he went out and he came. That's it. That's when he brought him into bury. That's why he left him there and he came out. And the Gemara says, the fact that he did not get harmed from this fire is mishum the Zakfela Arayna de Rav Huna. It's because he picked up the aron of Rav Huna to block the fire from him. This is the story of the burial of Rav Huna. The Gemara says, when Rav Chisda, which was, as we saw before, Rav Huna's student, when he passed away, so they also thought to put a Sefer Torah on his bed to say that he fulfilled everything that it said in the Sefer Torah. Rav Yitzchak said, something which his teacher, Rav Huna, does not hold of to do, we should go and do this for him. So now, afterwards, Sover, the Lele Mishlal Kirayu. So they all tore Kriya for Rav Chisda that passed away, and then they thought that the halacha is that you're not allowed to pin back up the Kriya. Amalu Rav Yitzchak Barami said, Chacham, the halacha by a Chacham is, even if you have to tear Kriya for him, but Kivin Shechziru Pneim Achayre Amita, once they turned away their faces from the bed, Shailulin, they're allowed to pin back up the Kriya. Right, the Gemara says, "Kinoch nafshe de Rabbi Bar Huna and Rav Amnuna." When Rabbi Bar Huna and Rav Amnuna passed away, askinu lahasam. So they carried them there to Eretz Yisrael. Kimatu agishre. So when they came to a bridge, and this was a very narrow bridge to pass through, and they could not pass both through together. So komu gamli. The camels that were carrying the coffins of Rabbi Bar Huna, Rav Huna, and Rav Amnuna stopped. Amar luhu hahutaya. So this Arab merchant that was there came and asked them, "My hi, what's going on here? Why are we stuck on the road over here?" Amrulei. So they told him, "Rabbanon the ka'avdu yukare ahadodi." These Rabbanon are giving honor to one another. Mar Amar Mar Neil Beresha. One of them is saying the other one should go first. And the other one is saying the other master should go in first. So Omar, so this Arab merchant wanted to get through, so he just said, Dino the Rabbi Bar Huna leil bereisha. It's the right thing that Rabbi Bar Huna should go ahead first. What happened? Cholev gamle the Rabbi Bar Huna. Rabbi Bar Huna's camel went first, and then this Arab merchant got punished for what he did here. Notar koche v'shinei. The ahutaya. So the jaws and the teeth of this Arab merchant fell out. So in other words, he by doing this, he took away the honor from Rav Hamnuna. So that's what the punishment he got. So this child came and said a hesped on the Rabbi Bar Rav Huna and Rav Amnuna, and he said, Geza Yishishim, a growth that comes out of the older ones. Olami Bavel came up from Bavel, V'imay Sefer Mulchames, and with them came this Sefer Mulchames. Rashi says it refers to the Sefer Torah. Rashi also says Geza Tarshishim is for the fact that Rabbi was the son of Rav Huna, which was, as we saw before, a very great person. He was the whole head, the whole Rosh Hashiva and Golus and so on. Yeah, and then when he said Sefer Mulchames, Rashi says it refers to Rav Hamnuna that used to fight with him in learning of Torah, so it seems like. Then this Yenuka continued in his hesped and he said, Kos v'koped, Kos and Koped, which are two names of, I think, certain kinds of birds, which are brings up Psaklala. Rashi says these are two expressions of curse. Hochpulu, now that they passed away, so these two curses have been doubled upon us. Lida is b'shayd, V'shever, to see this calamity and this tragedy, haba meshina, that's coming from Babel, that they passed away. Katzaf alei, the Eibishter was angry on his world. V'chamas mimenu nefashos, and he took from the world these two holy souls. And v'samach behem kekala chadashon, the Eibishter is happy with their arrival in Shemayim like a new kala. Reichav araves, the Eibishter was rides on araves, which is the name of one of the heavens. Sas v'sameach, is happy and excited. B'voy elov nefesh noki v'tzadik, when this pure souls and the tzaddik comes up to him. So this is the story of Rabbi Bar Rav Huna and of Amnuna that passed away. Then Kinoch Nafshe de Ravine, when Ravine passed away, Pasach Alea Husavdone, so one of the eulogizers began and said about him, Tumarim Hiniu Roish, the palm trees should shake their heads. Al Tzadik Katomar, like these tzaddikim that are like palm trees. Nasim leilis kayamim. Let's make our nights like days to eulogize them. Al meisim leilis kayamim. On this individual that he made his nights like days to learn Torah. So this was who? About Ravina. And what it says, Vaita Amalei Rav Ashi le Bar Kipuk. Rav Ashi said to Bar Kipuk. So Rashi says he was a person that was usually hired to eulogize people. So Rav Ashi said to him, Hahu yoime, on that day that I pass away, my omrit. What are you going to say about me? Amalei Rav Ashi said, is that I'll say as follows, Aminem im ba'arozim nafla shal heves. If on a cedar tree the fire caught on and he passed away, ma yasu ezuvekir, what are those flies on the wall going to do? And he also said, he'll say, Leviasam b'chako hu'ala, that such a big fish like a Leviasam was lifted up with a hook that you catch a fish. Ma yasu dogir ekak. What are those little fish that are in a little pond going to do? Benachal sheitif nafla chaka, in a raging river, this hook picked up such a fish. Ma yasu me govim. What would the fish in a little pool of water do? So that's what this eulogizer Bar Kipuk said he would say. Amalei Bar Ovin, so Bar Ovin, which was another eulogizer, and he responded and said, Chas v'shalom, God forbid to use these expressions, the chaka v'shal heves, to say that when a tzaddik passes away, it's like a hook of a fish or a shal heves, or like a fire that's burning him, with tzaddiki, to use these expressions regarding a tzaddik. Amine, what I would say is, Amine, it's Chas v'shalom to say this. So Umay Omrit, so he said, so Bar Kipuk said to this other eulogizer, which was Bar Ovin, what will you say? So he said, Amina, I'll say, Bachula Avelim, you should cry for the Avelim for that are mourning their passing, but Veloila Aveda, don't cry for the one that passed away, which is lost, because Shehi Lemenucha, he's going to peace, Va'anu La'anacha, and we are mourning. So this is what they both said about Rav Ashi that they'll say when he passes away. Rav Ashi did not feel good about this. He was very upset about what they said that they would say about him. Well, I mean, the first eulogizer said he would talk about a fire, that he's burnt in a fire and a fish hook, and even the second one said like an Aveda. So what happened? Because Rav Ashi wasn't happy about this, the heel of their foot got turned around. The whole foot turned around.
He's another guy.
Both of them, Bar Kipuk and Bar Avin, both of these eulogizers. On that day when Rav Ashi passed away, they did not come to eulogize him. Behind the Dama Rav Ashi, this is what Rav Ashi says about them, Lav Bar Kipuk chalitz. This Bar Kipuk cannot do any chalitza, which is when you do chalitza, you have to take off the shoe from your foot. V'lav bar Avin chalitz, and bar Avin, that is, can't do chalitza either, because once it turned upside down, so then they can't do chalitza properly. As Rashi brings it the pasuk, so that's what happened to them as a punishment for this. Talk to Gemara, another story. Rava ki hava asa lediglas. Rava came to cross the Diglas, which is the Nahar, the river that's called Chidekel in the Torah. Amalei bar Avin, so he said to Bar Avin, Kum eime milsa. Get up and say something. Koi va'omar. So he got up and said about Rava, this is, Bo roiv shlishis. Come across the river, most of the third. What's the pshat third? So Rashi here says, Yidden are called third. That the Klal Yisrael is divided into thirds. Right? Yidden are divided into Kain, and Levim, Yisraelim. So he said that Rava is considered to be roiv shlishis. He's roiv of the third. Because that's how powerful, that's how great Rava is. So let Rava, which he calls Roiv Shlishis, come b'mayim, through the water. And then he said, Zachair v'rachem, the Eibusher should remember and have mercy on us. Ta'inu me'acharecha, we have wandered from you. Ki isha mi baila, like a woman that wanders from her husband. Al tasnichenu, do not forsake us. Ka'ois me mora, like a woman that has to have the waters of the site to inspect her. Here there's a siman b'negeya to the different amiroim. The Gemara is going to speak about what happened when they passed away. Chanin, Yochanan, Zera, Abba, Yaakov, Yossi, Shmuel, Chia, Menachem, Simon. Rav Chanin, Chassani de Ben Esir, Rav Chanin, he was the son-in-law of the house of the Nasi. Have loy kohavele bani. He didn't have any children. Bo Rachmi, he'd say Davin, and Vahavele, and he had children. Hahu Yaiman, that day that he had a child, the Havele, that he had a child, Noch Nafshe, passed away. So this eulogizer began and said about him, Simcha letuga nefacha. This joy turned into a tuga, into a tragedy, into mourning. Sasain v'yogain nidbeku, that the joy and the yogain and the mourning came together. Ve'ez simchasai nenach, in the time of his joy he's mourning. Ve'ez chaninosai, in the time when Hashem showed him grace and he had a child, Ovet Chanina, the child lost his grace, which is his father. His father's name was Chanina. Asikale Chanan al Shemai. His name was Chanan. So they gave him this name Chanan, like his father. Kinach Navshed Rabbi Yechanan. When Rabbi Yechanan passed away, Pasach le Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar began and said the following hesped: Kosha hayoim li Yisrael ki yoim boya shemesh b'tzarayim. The day is so difficult for Yidden. It's like the sun setting in the middle of the day in the afternoon. It says in the pasuk, on that day I'll bring the sun will set in the afternoon. And Rabbi Yechanan says, this refers to the day that Yeshayahu passed away. When Rabbi Yechanan passed away, Yosef Ravami Shiva Shloishim. Ravami sat Shiva for him, and he kept the halachas of Shloishim as well. So he said that the Rabami, the Ovid Lagrameya David, what he did was his own choice to do it this way. Because the Hachiyam Rabbi Barabba Rabbi Yechanan, because Rabbi Barabba said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, that Afil Rabbi Shalim Le Chachma, even a Rebbe that taught him Chachma and passed away, Ein Yeshav Al Yom Echad. So the Shiva, one sits for a Rebbe, is only just one day. Yeah. Kinach nafshe Rab Zeire. When Rab Zeire passed away, Pasach Alea Husabdone. So this eulogizer began and said as follows: Eretz Shinar Harav Yoloda, the land of Shinar, which is Bavel, conceived and gave birth to him. He was born in Bavel. And then Eretz Tzvi Gidlo Shashuel. And then in Eretz Yisrael, which is called Eretz Tzvi, raised this Shashuel, this beautiful person like Rab Zeire. Rab Zeire went up to Eretz Yisrael. And then he said, Oina la, woe to it, Amra Rekes, and you say to Rekes, which is another name for the city of Tveria, Ki Avda Klichem Dasa. It lost its precious vessel, because Rab Zeire was living in Tveria. Kinach nafshed Rabavo, when Rabavo passed away, Achisu Amude de Kaisri Maya. There were these pillars in the city Kaisri, so they were pouring out water, like crying for his passing. The Rabbi Yossi, when Rabbi Yossi passed away, Shofu Marzavid Tzipayri Doma. The gutters of Tzipayri were spilling out blood. The Rabbi Yaakov, when Rabbi Yaakov passed away, Ischamiu Koichve Be Yemama. So they saw the stars in the middle of the day. Like the nature changed because of the great pain that the world had. The Rab Asi, when Rab Asi passed away, Iakro Kol Ilana. The trees were all uprooted. The Rab Chia, when Rab Chia passed away, Nechisu Kipe Denure Mirakia. It came down, these fires, these balls of fires from the heaven. The Rab Menachem Bar Yaisi, or the other gears over here is, it's Rab Menachem Bar Rabbi Simoy, when he passed away, Ishtiu Tzalmanaya, Vahavala Machaltzaya. All of these different pictures that there are on the coins and on different things, they all melted and they became like blocks of whatever metal it was. Rashi here brings that it says in the Gemara, B'negei Rab Menachem, that he was called Benon Shel Kedoshim because he never saw the tzura of a matbeya. The picture on a matbeya. So therefore, when he passed away, all the pictures of these matbeya, they all melted and became like blocks of whatever it is, silver. The Rab Tanchem Bar Chia, when Rab Tanchem Bar Chia passed away, is kitzatzu kol andartaya. All of these different andartaya, which are these, what's the word in English? They have these images they make for the kings. No, I forgot what the word in English is. So they all got cut down. They all fell down. The statues, but there's another word for it. Okay, so they all broke and fell down. The Rabbi Yashiv, when Rabbi Yashiv passed away, the monuments, okay, shkoyach. The Rabbi Yashiv, when Rabbi Yashiv passed away, Ichteru Shivin Machtarta b'Nerda. There were 70 caves that were dug in the city of Nerda by thieves. Meaning, as long as he was alive, the thieves did not steal. He passed away, all the thieves came out of their holes and they began digging caves. The Rav Amnuna, when Rav Amnuna passed away, the Chisa Kipi the Bardim Rekia. So you had hail that came down from heaven. The Rabbi Rav Yosef, when Rabbi and Rav Yosef passed away, Noshok Kipi the Pras Ahadodi. The two pillars that were holding up the bridge over the Pras River fell down, and these two pillars kissed each other. The Abaye v'Rava, when Abaye and Rava passed away, Nishoik Kipi the Diglas Adadi. So the two pillars of the bridge on the Diglas River fell down and kissed each other. Kinoch Nafshi the Rav Misharshia, when Rav Misharshia passed away, Toan Dikli Shitzi. The palm trees began growing thorns out of it. Simon B'Teiv.